Hello, hello, I am Rangru.
And I'm Graham.
Here today with another 1v1 from Wargame Bootcamp Discord train tournament. We are in Hell, in a very small place. And who is in Hell today, Graham?
So on the left ring, we have Slava Smoke playing as Blue 4 Unspect. And then on the right, we have Red Army Faction playing the Red Army itself, Soviet General as well, but there are no tanks. He decided to handicap himself.
Yeah, he doesn't even have his deck fully filled out either, so quite an interesting decision. I'm guessing it's probably just made a mistake. Always
It's a
flexing.
handicap. It's a handicap for the points, difference that Slava Smoke has for being Blue 4 on Blue 4.
Yeah, he wants to make it even. But he's already starting off with the double black helicopters, the KA-50 and the 52, and just pushing right down the middle of the canal. Got two BMPTs, a pretty hot opener.
Yeah, he's using obviously the K-52 to shield himself from any of the from any radar piece of AA. The K-50, obviously, it's a dreaded tank killer. It has 12, anti-tank missiles, so it's gonna go ahead and back up there and try and pick off any of these vehicles here. But there is a manpad team right there, and as we know in this game, this isn't Warno. If he strays too close to those manpads, they can really, make it difficult for those really expensive helicopters. But yeah, like you said, Rang, Superior already on top of this. You got BTRTs, goated transport, and BMPTs engaging here. But there are some Challenger 2, or Challenger 1s, excuse me, in the back line here for Slava Smoke.
Yeah, they really need to get their arse into the front here, because the one thing lacking here for Red Army factions push is the lack of anti-tank apart from those at KA-50. But he is actually getting some pretty good maneuverability. It's a little bit cocky. He does have the recon of the KA-52 to be fair, but he's very lucky there's no infantry in that forest he's flying about.
Yeah, and I mean, the push so far is pretty good here for Red Army. It's going to go up, all AMX-13s going, one of the backside's and it's still alive. The Challengers are trying to engage here, but the K-50 kind of, you really want to be careful with your positioning. Maybe move the manpad team up a little bit. Yeah, is actually trying to get it there because Red Army now being extremely aggressive here. And we're gonna look and see if there it goes right there. Stinger opening up, slamming into that K-50 right away on the first shot.
Yeah, taking quite a bit to reload, Joe. Giving the Scratch it time to come in, get the clutch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then the Akula, so the Akula isn't gonna go down there because the Gepard was able to jump in there. Nice micro by Slava Smoke because he was able to bait out one of the K-52 shots after it had been hit, and so he was able to keep it alive, and it's going to go back up. Expensive loss there.
Yeah, and we're seeing that see quite a lot of defensive smoke to give the Challenger 2 time to back off, as the BMPTs are really giving them quite a hassle with just all the critical hits they're managing to get.
Yeah, but they won't be able to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, the BMPT is being really annoying right there. But, I mean, it might even be worth splitting the Challenger, right? Like, go ahead and back up with the with the computer, and then bring the good one. Because the BMPT is not going to be able to kill it from the front. I mean, it would really need a side or a rear shot.
Yeah, maybe it might be a good idea for Red Army faction to bring up some oh, never mind.
I mean, he can bring out the T-80 UK.
Yep.
Oh, no. He said, F all that, Ray. He's bringing out the Baratino.
Whoa, he is just getting all sorts of Soviet magic here.
He wants everything on a tank chassis, but doesn't actually want the tank.
He doesn't want to fully commit. He's like ascendant or side. I'm trying to think of the word.
I don't know. I didn't go to college.
Tank adjacent.
Tank adjacent. I see. Yeah. Interesting. Well, he should have just played like a. I mean, I guess he wants all the fancy equipment, right? But he doesn't. So you don't want to necessarily play. Actually, but I mean, Mech would get the Baratino.
Yeah.
But the Mech, but it wouldn't get the. He wouldn't get the K-52 or K-50 though. I believe Mech.
Oh.
Yeah. So
probably not some of the fancy aircraft.
And then neither the KA-29s either, which, we see them kind of roaming around. They're a nasty helicopter that the Soviets can bring out. That Gucci one armor on every across the board on it.
Mm-hmm. But he's done a pretty good job of getting a foothold into Charlie. The Challengers are still going to be a bit of a pain, but that +2 sector is Gucci. He also pretty much has Bravo and, well, Foxtrot's contested, and he is probably going to lose Ghost here. So it's going to be very much about whether he can secure Charlie. Or just contest.
The push is really good, but the problem is going to be, like, where does it go? Because a lot of times when we see the Charlie put, excuse me, a lot of times when we see the Charlie push, it quickly runs out of steam because he's really stretching his supply lines here. But Bravo, is basically under his control, so that kind of helps him. He does have the helo advantage, so he kind of has them patrolling as like a ready backup, and he hasn't lost anything too crazy except that Akula. So he still has a decent little force. Oh, the VDV just died there, and that one BMP2. He's going to go and get messed up here if he's not careful by those Carl Gustavs. Even those M48s can make some trouble for the BMPT.
Yeah, just holding the line, a little bit of anti-tank.
There she goes. Okay, so he's doing it in like a little burst fire, which I don't like that right there. That's not enough rounds from the Baratino to really kill anything. This isn't actually in Ukraine, so it's more of like the HE effect obviously is important in it, but really, it's probably one of the aspects where I think it might be a little bit more powerful in Warno than it is actually here because of the raw like killing potential of the rocket. But you got kind of at least fire 15 of them, I think.
Yeah, you gotta go full burst. SU-24 comes in, gets
one of them.
2 kills. Oh, right.
I think it missed the flat the Gipper back there. Yeah, that guy's that crew's on point right now.
Second Baratino strike trying to deal with the man-pad, which has done a pretty good job. I believe he shot down 2 Ka-29s.
Is he doing it so it never runs out of ammo? I don't think that works though. I don't think it works that way.
I don't think so either. They count salvos.
Yeah, I don't think that actually is a
hidden stat.
Yeah, because once he eventually fires, so he's basically firing like 7 or 8 each time. But he's doing it randomly, and this is now he's just unloading. The one time he decides to just let it rip, there's nothing there.
Yeah, he's just kind of trying to get that CV snipe, but it's going to be quite difficult because it's Blue 4 General. Of course they're going to take the Akazurid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one reason, like, we were talking about a little beforehand, I'm not really sure if in today's version, of Wargame, I would want to bring Blue 4 unspec'd. Like Blue 4 Mech we've casted, right? We've also casted Blue 4 Marine, Blue 4 Moto over the years. So those all have reasons why I could see, that's why you'd want to go all of Blue 4 in its entirety. Just going unspec'd in a 1v1, you're kind of missing out on some things. But that Akazurid is a great CV, so.
Yeah, I think it's also quite interesting as well now of the Blue 4 unspec meta, quote-unquote, with the introduction of South Africa. You do get some new Gucci units, like these Bootcamp 90s, for example, are basically similar to Fusilier 90s, because they got a Gucci rocket launcher for 15 points.
Yeah, they do. The Bocops are nasty, and they get the Rattel, which goes vroom vroom. SU-25T coming out here, but he knows that Flat Gepard is still. I mean, obviously, as we've seen, Rang from time immortal, the SU-25T is the ultimate seed plane. But I would be careful, kind of just flying it around right there. Falkenjaeger and Bravo, they're the little rear line shenanigans, but there's no CV there yet, so it's not too important.
Yeah, honestly, it might be best for Slava Smoke to just really exploit Gulf and push rounds into Foxtrot and just try to flank instead of trying to hit this defensive force head on. Because it's kind of like a porcupine. It's a very scary force in that forest. It's all that quite nasty CQC action. But it can't really exert its presence outside of that forest. It is all CQC. You can really solve most problems in life with a Kernas.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't seen a fighter. There's SU-25T, which, I mean, yes, it does have a couple R-73s, but that's really not its purpose. There is an SU-24 patrolling, but the Kernas I think could easily get in and out right now with no issues whatsoever, and it would annihilate all that infantry. At least there, it was blopped up. Now he's kind of separating a Red Army faction is, and he's bringing out some infantry for Foxtrot. But I agree with you, Ring. I really think the back line, kind of like hook it from Golf Foxtrot. Oh, instead he brought out the F-16, getting a hit right there in the SU. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he gets hits on the SU-25T, bringing it down to 3 HP and kind of warding it off there.
Yep, gonna be forcing it back. But I think also is the interesting dynamic of Slava Smoke probably doesn't realize that there's no actual tanks in Red Army's deck.
Yeah.
So he's probably a little bit more defensive because of that. It's like, okay, the TATU is going to be in that forest somewhere. It's somewhere. I can hear it in my rules.
So an AA vehicle just blew up over there. Did you see that? Past Charlie in the forest, there's a blown up. It looks like an Oso almost.
Oh, I think an Oso went for a long distance stroll all the way up north.
Oh yeah, he got black.
Wow.
Yeah, he did not make it. But yeah, that little deviation there aside, Yeah, I do agree with you. And what's interesting, because if you don't know your opponent doesn't bring something like armor, right? You're going to always assume, especially with the Soviet, the Red Army, they have a pretty amazing tank tab ring, and so you can really take. It's one of, I mean, it's one of the biggest highlights of playing, I think, a Soviet deck in general is just the amount of tank options you actually have.
Yeah.
So, it is kind of weird in retrospect. I have to, agree with you earlier. It has to be a mistake because there's been multiple times already this game where it's like, damn, if he had a tank or two here, it would really have given him some more weight instead of like using BMPTs.
Yeah, because right now in Foxtrot and Charlie, he can't really push out of these forests, and even just a little bit of tank action, Leopard 1A5 and M48 is doing a good job of keeping all of Red Army's units just stuck, not being able to do any actual maneuvers. It's kind of a shame, because he probably... Charlie was a good push, it worked out well, but maybe the safer play is to try to play Golf, because it's much more CQC heaven.
Yeah, I mean, I think if his deck is correct, I don't, excuse me, I don't completely dislike the Charlie push. I mean, you're going for the 2-point sector. It's really aggressive. I obviously really favor aggressive action. It makes for good viewing, easier casts as well. But he doesn't really have the tools to follow it up. And great point you said earlier, Rang. Like the M48 is enough to ward off this, whatever Red Army faction has on the map here, because that might as well be a heavy tank.
Yeah.
Because when you have no tanks, any tank is better. And the BMPT, while it is great at CQC, fighting infantry, it really is not meant to be going head to head at 2,000 meters with other armored vehicles. That's just not its thing. And so, the Baratino is really cool. It's sexy. Oh, I mean, F-16 got smacked around a little bit by that Skrezit.
Yeah.
It's not going to make up for a lack of armor.
Where's U-24 going in for the gun run? MiG-25, yo. Is he going to finish the job?
I might get him to here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
It's the dream team. One with the gun, one with the missiles.
Together, they make a whole plane.
Yes.
You gotta love Soviet engineering.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No. The plane in front gets gun, plane behind gets missile. When the plane with the gun gets shot down, you pick up the gun.
You just pick it up out of midair.
Yeah, it's what they did, right? It's like Ace Combat.
The game is hot.
It is pretty hot.
Well, Red Army factions, not really Ace Combat related. He has a lot of helicopters, right? Like he has a decent look. Actually, where did all the K-29s go?
Oh, blapped.
I don't even remember watching them get black.
It's just the Stingers getting hit after hit as they just move a little bit closer. But now he's a bit buggered because he only had the one KA-50 and that's gone. The KA-52 is still alive and he still has another one of those, if I believe. But he really needed that KA-50 for the anti-tank play because that and the Su-25T, he's having to rely on aircraft to, just do the basic anti-tank work.
Yeah, we see the challengers here pushing up. Okay, so that's two of it. You're trying to commit. It gets a nasty hit on one of them, bringing it down. But as you can see right there is AA in this, in Charlie. There's the Gepard. There's a Hawk coming up as well. He did lose his F-16 though, so that kind of sucks if you're Slava Smoke. But he can bring out more AA pieces, so it's not like he has the inability to defend himself from the aircraft. And also, he's not Red Army faction isn't an airborne deck, so there's only a limited amount of aircraft he's really gonna be able to field in this game to deal with armor. And unless it's the greatest Su-25T of all time, it's really not gonna be enough.
Yeah, and really the only aircraft he really has to worry about is the Su-25Ts. Most of the other aircraft aren't proper cast aircraft. I mean, they can still inflict on the battlefield. But the Su-25T would be, his main bottleneck to deal with. If he blows that up, then his tanks can run around more freely because, well, lack of ground-based anti-tank is going to hurt the Red Army.
Yes, that'd be very painful for the Red Army. I will say I'm surprised that, Slava Smoke, excuse me, has played this pretty slow so far, and maybe it is purely because he still has not realized there's no armor. But there's nothing heavy in front of him. Like, BMPTs aren't going to stop his armor. So, once he has a solution to the Su-25T, which, I mean, He kind of does. He yeeted his F-16 a little bit there, but he has Hawks, he has Gepards. I mean, even the Merkava 2Bs right now, if he just maxes those, he doesn't even need the Challenge ones or to buy the 2A4 that he has. Like, those alone are more than enough to deal with, Gonostrelki, Skrezits, and BMPTs.
Yeah, yeah, he honestly just needs a little bit more recon here, because, well, apart
Yeah.
from the Scout Defender, it just got blapped. He
Yeah,
just
blap.
doesn't really have much eyes on the battlefield, just taking a look here. Yeah, he's pretty much blind in Charlie and Foxtrot. He has no idea. A Red Army has... Oh, it's also blind as well. This is Wargame.
Yes, that is true. But the recon, can work. But not like other Yujin titles where recon never works. It's so I'm interesting to see. So I'm interested in seeing why he doesn't have a little bit more forward. As we saw, the Scout Defender got blapped. He does have the AMX-13 pushing up here, but one thing we see, which difference a lot of times we're ranking, like the top level guys versus the trained or the rookie tournaments. The five man recon teams are just amazing to have in your decks, and they're cheap. You take them, you put them out a couple places on the map, and right there you're at least gonna get some level of intelligence. Whereas relying totally on like the 35-point chopper isn't really good enough.
Yeah, you really just screw yourself over because you're spending a lot of points just getting those Gucci guys out. And
Yeah.
then most of the time, unless you're trying to do real-line shenanigan actions, you really just need a recon to shut up, shit down, and just use their binoculars effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. You put them in a tree line somewhere, maybe an elevated position or whatever, but you put them somewhere where they can get you some information. You can push them forward a little bit, be a little aggressive. I mean, there's a lot of options, right? Not everything needs to be the Yugo M84 recon tank, but it is great. You see here, there really isn't a lot of reconnaissance for either player. Red Army faction has a K-52, so it means a lot of points in the recon tab, but it's really for a chopper that has kind of lost a lot of purpose so far in this game.
Yeah, but also at the same time, Red Army's really has not decided to put any forces directly into Cove. The actual village there has been completely uncontested. There's some commando powers there to stop him, but still, even just holding that village from Red Army faction section, just setting up a decent defensive line along the edge, you can at least contest Cove, which can really keep you in the match.
Yeah, here comes the combo here. SC-24 opening up, finally getting that one Gepard, trying to go for another. It does miss there. The Hawk is too far in the rear to actually do anything. And this is the big downside of the Hawk here, Rang, is the three missiles. I've never been a big fan. Oh, but it smacked that SC-25T right there. If we get the second hit, that'd be huge. And it does, down to 2 HP. I don't think there's any SC-25 in the world surviving 2 missiles from the Hawk. But, hey, when in Rome, so he makes it out, but he was severely damaged, and that gives actually a window here for Slava Smokerang if he wants to get aggressive, because it's going to be some time before that's back on the battlefield.
Yeah, and he has the tank, well, clearly has the tank advantage, but he has a decent amount of fire support on the field with all these armoured vehicles. Maybe a little bit lacking in infantry now, but he needs to try to make something happen, and just going from the south of Foxtrot to north really is his best bet. I mean, there's just no... Well, okay, some Factoria is being brought in, but that's not that scary.
Yeah, it's like we talked about last cast, when it comes to, like, Factories, for example. They're not there really to kill anything. They're just meant to, like, dissuade or... That K-52 missing back-to-back missiles on the Black Panther. Yep, I mean, you might as well just get rid of it. Yeah. But, it's just meant to dissuade. So, will that be enough to dissuade Slava Smoke? I think so, because he's playing very cautious. He's allowed that Baratino to actually have a more impact than it should, because most of the rounds haven't even hit anything really important. Second to last salvo, it did kill some infantry and Foxtrot, but it's almost like he's allowed, like, the Baratino, some cheap ATGMs and a K-52 to kind of pin him in this section of the map when he has a lot of tools in his deck that can allow him to be really flexible.
Yeah, now Red Army is starting to actually bring out some tanks on the field. He's got TO-62s, which are, well, it's something at least, but more importantly, the T-80 UK. So, worst comes to worst, he can actually really do some decent damage on all these vehicles.
We casted one time where a guy opened, it might have been the Elite Tournament, where he opened with the
Yes.
T80 UK and smoked it so he could put it back in the zone. I said, if this was WARNO and it just could like take the zone, it'd make a lot more sense to me. But hey, the T80 UK is still a beast of a tank. So he does have something now on the field if he really wants to get jiggy with it. But I doubt he's going to do that.
Yeah, it's more just, hey, you want to nuke my CV because you know it's in this corner? You're
Yeah.
gonna need a few Kernasses.
Yeah, and that's something. This is the second time in a row. Obviously not in a row in a cast, but second time we've had a blue 4 deck that has a Kernas and they don't use it, Ring. Because a couple weeks ago we casted one, and it's like that's the best unit in the deck. Like that is 100% one of the best units in the game, and the players just bringing it for a reason, and then they just never use it.
Yeah, and he has the perfect opportunity. It's not a whole lot of anti-air from Red Army because he hasn't needed to, but of how Red Army's been deploying in these small, tight forests, he can just very easily just Kernash it and get a bunch of kills.
Oh yeah, if he had bought a Kernas 10 minutes ago, I would have racked up mega kills by now. Because there just really isn't a lot, in that we've seen on the field here from Red Army faction to deal with it. Yes, there's a MiG-25, but we've seen in this game time and time again, like with the Czech napalm bomber. If you're smart with your play, call it out at the right time. Those things are gonna, unless there's a lot of AA on the ground, which there isn't here for Red Army faction, they're gonna get out pretty clean away from the ASF.
Yeah, but even then, we're just over halfway through the match. The point advantage is in Red Army's favor, and he still has pretty good map control. And I don't really see this really flipping, even though it's not that big of a point advantage. Slava has a bunch of time to get that plus run for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5-6 minutes, something like that. Yeah, I mean, it is MiG-25 getting evac. He's just bringing it out, evacing it, bringing it out, evacing it. He's massing out M48s. Like, yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I really don't get what Slava Smoke is doing the longer this goes on, because there was a real, I think, opportunity 10 minutes ago where he could have done massive damage with what he had in the field. Even now, he has more infantry. I mean, it's not like he can't bring up infantry quickly. He has Bocops and Rattels, so he can get infantry pretty much anywhere on the map quickly if he wants to. The Baratino, the longer you allow it to just shoot, it's going to eventually accrue more and more value. So it's opening salvos while they were very lackluster. I mean, the more the game goes on, it's going to burn some infantry. It's going to drop a massive 220mm rocket on somebody's face. I just don't, I really don't get it. Seems like Slava Smoke is kind of just letting Red Army faction do what he wants to do.
Yeah, and it's just Red Army. He doesn't have anything super scary, but he just has a lot of stuff all over the place. A lot of APCs and other things which are annoying when they shoot back at you, and it's just going to take him a lot of time to break through now.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Slava Smoke's radar micro is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think one of the better games I've watched where they are actively microing their radar here. And he's going to get a shot. Yeah, he's trying to get a shot here with it, and it's going to get... Oh, he did actually get a hit on it. Because it was pretty severely damaged. Only got an evac hit, I think. Oh, yeah, Rise of evac. That's unfortunate.
He really needs another Hawk.
Yeah, he needs 2 Hawks, and he needs to keep them supplied. There needs to be constant supply trucks near them, because they are just so supply intensive. It's a reason, like me personally, I almost always bring the Tor over the Buck if I play this. If I play excuse me, the US like a USSR deck, and we now see real quick, not talking about myself. Red Army faction is getting engaged, right? We see BTRDs, Skrezits coming down, and just look at it, just getting shredded right there. The Bocop with its FTS right there, knocking out multiple transports. VDV gonna have to be pushed back, and there's Leopards there. I mean, he can almost, you'll be a little careful because of RPG-29, but already half of those vehicles are just gone.
Yeah, really good lore defense. Once again, Bocop 90s, great addition to Blue 4 General. And he just needs to force these engagements more, because he can win them. The Red Army, he's amassing a little helicopter force, and he really likes his BMPTs.
2, 3, 4. Okay, 4. Alright.
Yeah, we're good. But it's the 3 BMPTs I'm really curious in seeing now. It's like, okay, I don't have any proper tanks, I might as well just get the Terminators.
Yeah, I mean, in certain situations, they will annihilate. They will terminate whatever's in front of them. But even then, if Slava Smoke is the right engagement, the Leopards they'll blap them from 2,200 meters.
Yeah.
Okay, so the M48 Horde is going in. it's a tank. The Factorio can actually blap. I think with pretty good ease. We see it. Oh, it actually brings down to 1 HP if it hits it on the side.
VDV-90s holding their own with a big RPG 29s here. Taking some casualties, but fortunately the Factorias don't have any resupply.
Yeah, there's no resupply, and there's so many M48s here. They're really cheap, and we see them just kind of tanking rounds here. I mean, the meta sim will, I think, can one-shot those M48s. I mean, I guess this is working?
Kind of. I mean, the BMPT and the T-62 flamethrower tanks are actually doing a good job.
Yeah, I mean, if he brought just one of the challengers or the Makavas with him, this would be fine. Because it's almost like an old school like ALB tank push, right? All the garbage up front, and then he left all the decent tanks behind.
Yeah, because those M48s aren't bad against this IFV force, but they can't penetrate the BMPT, which is their issue, because they only have 8 AP. So he, like you said, he needs those Challenger 1 Mark IIs, but now they're pushing up. And they're like super vet.
Yeah, he brought them vetted up, and then at the same time he loses the meat shield for no. I mean, sure it killed some stuff, but mostly it just soaked up a lot of ATGM ammo from the Factorias, which I mean to be real, they hit like 1 of every 3 times anyways. So a little flames drop right there in front. It's kind of nice seeing a little flame from the tank action. The CS moving forward. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't brought more of the CS. The CS is running up on infantry, can annihilate them with the Vulcans. So he does have Roviats to screen for him there. It just feels very like the attack isn't really unified. You know what I mean, Rang? It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's not very organized at all. It's just kind of throwing small forces here and there, and not utilizing combined arms, which what you want to be doing. Oh god, the Hawk hit the ground, and I forgot like a bug where it just. I don't know if it's a bug or a feature of just how goddamn big that missile crater is.
It's so big. It's like a kern ass.
Take 3 hits to kill an SU-25.
Yeah, look at that giant impact crater on that little hill right there. But it's going to take off a couple pieces of HP if it hits the SU-25.
And this is where we all brought the premium SU-25 and War Thunder.
Yes, because it gives you increased protection against Hawk missiles. MiG-25 and SU-24 combo back out, so now both SU-24s are up. I mean, that's a lot of a lot of aircraft over the map right now. SU-25T gets a snipe on a Merkava 2 there. I mean, there's... I don't know, to me it's just a downside of the Hawk. Oh, it just blapped that SU-24.
Gets a good hit. SU-25T.
He finally got a really good hit there, and you just see there the potential when you have a 9 HE, AA piece. So eventually you get that, the extra crit, the crit chance, and it just blaps that SU-24. I think that's how it works, right? It's the crit chance was what's one past the plane. Yeah. Oh, the SU-25, but the SU-25T showing it's the superior seaplane once again by sniping the Hawk in the forest.
Good for him. Honestly, to see Air Power has done such a great job of the aircraft and the helicopters, especially early on, just negating Slava Smoke's tanks. Been smoking them out.
The Akazarit is in danger to the BMPT rush. The 30 mil and the grenade launch. The grenade launch actually was right there, opening up on it. The CS, that's gonna get black. You can just see. I like watching the grenade launcher just open up the AGS. You just see it cover there. Why are they highlighting? Is that real? That isn't in real life, right? They don't have like tracer. No, there's nothing like that.
No, it just looks cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I was like, there's nothing in real life that can make the grenade look like that.
No, this looks cool.
With the graphics, no, it looks cool. Look at that Eugen doing something just because it looks cool and makes the game better. Wow,
weird. Oh, BMPT are trying their hardest to get the Akazuri. Not gonna kill it, but they do the important thing.
Look at this, just tank all of them. It does not care, bro. The Baratina shooting once again. SU-24 diving in. Yeah, it's just like Slava Smoke had everything available to him, Rang, to, I mean, really to win this game multiple times. And he kind of just let Red Army faction dictate the pace of the game. And yeah, there's the tap out.
There we go, and yeah, pretty standard KD. But very surprising. Like, just... It feels like the bluff factor from Red Army faction got him the dub. Because Slava, he must have thought there was much scarier tank forces in that forest, but he just didn't know. Scotty didn't know.
Scotty didn't know, and it feels like that really actually kind of works out there. Yeah, Rang, I completely agree with you. I just don't. When you go back and look at his deck, there's no tanks whatsoever. Obviously, you see the helos, the up-vetted Akula, but at some point, and I think for most players, it's got to be within 5 minutes, right? Within 5-6 minutes, I don't see something that's like critical to a deck. I'm just going, we're going for it. We're just going to assume they don't have it, or they just, maybe they brought the wrong deck, or that they have only really expensive tanks. Whatever it is, like we got to start playing the game because like you can't live in fear of like, oh, well, I haven't seen a tank yet. I'm not going to do anything. And so hopefully that wasn't like what was dictating his play the whole time because he had a massive advantage just in that alone. I get the planes were kind of annoying, but I think he was a little it almost felt like Slava Smoke was a little slow in reacting to the game itself because maybe his strategy just got kind of, his game plan just kind of got ruined off the start.
Yeah, it's kind of like that classic, rookie train tournament problem of you just, like you said, scared to push. You just don't have that momentum. But you gotta take risks. You gotta do decent probing actions, and you gotta eventually build up a combined arms push and kind of just send it. If you have like 2 Challenger 1s, 2 McCurvers, some Leopard Run A5s, some decent fire support, you have the forces. Let it rip.
No, I completely agree with you. I'm surprised that it's almost like if you look at Red Army Faction, he had a plan. He went for it off the start. I think it worked way better than it should have. But hey, it put him in a position to win the game, and he kind of sent it and did something. And I'm surprised that whereas Slava Smoke, it felt like he was constantly reacting, and he never got himself in a position where he could really exert the benefits of his deck, even when he had those units on the battlefield.
Yeah. I guess you could say it was really a Red Army fraction.
Oh, okay.
And on that note,
I'm good at that.
we'll leave it off